What's up, YouTube? I'm Jay. This is Crooked Eye Comics. Just a quick recap from the last video. This is going to be the second video from the Crooked Corner. In the beginning, I explained everything, but I'll do it again really fast. We have 50 books that we started off with. And what the goal is over the course of the next year, we're going to buy, sell, and trade from that group. And we're going to try to turn it into whatever we can. The goal is $2,000 total value at the end of the year, and at least one book that's worth 500 bucks. So in last week's video, I just gave you the quick rundown. I showed you all the books. I put those in the description. I'll do the same for this video. But this week we have some action. We have our first week with some action. So I went to a local comic book shop. What I did was I traded Spider-Gwen number 1. I traded Spider-Gwen number 2, Spider-Gwen number 3, Batman 442, and Spawn number 1. So I'm going to remove those from our 50, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the books that we got today. The first book I want to go over, now when I was setting into doing this, you want to have a game plan. You want to stick to our 4-tier system. So with these books, what happened was when I calculated everything, the total that I spent on the books was $42. So that's going to be how much I spent. That's tier 1. Tier 2, what's the fair market value? Fair market value is about $85 right now. Tier 3, what's the ceiling? For those books, I put the ceiling to be 150 bucks. So that means best case scenario, if they all hit and they all hit spec or whatever the case is, and they jump double in value, that's what the ceiling would be. The floor for those books, now, the Spider-Gwens I had for a very long time, so I knew roughly what the value was on the books. I purchased them for $4 cover price, and then they really didn't exceed that too much. They were all floating around $8 the duration that I had. So my ceiling, or my floor for those was going to be about half that amount, $40. But now remember, if it ever got anywhere close to that, it's time to get out. But we sold at a good time, and we ended up exceeding the amount that I put into. And that's really always the key, is you never want to lose on what you put into the book. So if you put $4 into the book, if you get $8, that's a win. Even if somebody else tells you, oh, that's a terrible deal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. A good deal for me is not going to be the same good deal as somebody else. It depends what you put into the book. So that's why I set up that 4-tier system. Our first book that I'm going to go over is going to be this Avengers. It is Avengers 165, the first appearance of Henry Peter Gyrich. This character is going to be influential going forward. He has ties to not only the Avengers, but he also has ties to the X-Men. This book, I believe, is a Jim Shooter. This book also came around the same time as the X-Men. So it's not going to be funny that when the X-Men start coming in, he's going to be introduced. It's a different type of villain than what we're used to. He doesn't have any crazy powers like that. He pays other people to go do his deeds for him, essentially. So he's a different type of villain. He's going to pay the mutants to go and do his dirty work for him. But he has a lot of money, and he's still, don't get it twisted, he's still a big-time villain. But it's just a different type. And something that I think we need anyways. It's going to be a very influential character moving forward. If you don't have it, go nab it. We ended up obtaining it in this trade, and it was beautiful. So when I set out to do some deals, I wanted at least one first appearance. I wanted one number 1, and I wanted one book that was going to start a set, so a small set. So I was looking at maybe 4, like a 1 through 4, get maybe one of those books, or a 1 of 6, something like that. Now, that's going to be our next book that I show you. Is going to be the Infinity Gauntlet, and it's number 4. So this book, I'll just take it out real quick so I can show you. It's in pristine condition. I would say it's a 9.2. It is absolutely gorgeous. Everything's perfect on this book. So when I say, well, what our goal was, or what my goal was for this That's a 6-issue run. This is number 4. So when you're doing a trade, you know, we're not going to be looking, we're doing this for a whole year. So we're not going to focus just on right now. We need to focus, we need to have some foresight for the future. Okay, what's going to happen in 4 months? What's going to happen in 6 months? What's going to happen in 8 months? So with the Infinity Gauntlet, if anybody thinks Thanos is gone for good, I think you're crazy. He's going to make a return at some point. And that even has ties with Adam Warlock. It's all going to shape in to where it's still going to be a good book to get. Low price right now, like a 9.2 cover price for that was $20. Sign me up. The next book I'll show you, now out of all these books, the only one that I would consider putting into my personal collection out of all these books, strangely enough, because there are some good books in here, it's not like there's any like bullshit, but is this Defenders. It is the Defenders Annual #1. It's one of 2 books that I was missing from my personal collection for the Defenders run. If you've heard me talk about it before, if you haven't gotten any Defenders stuff, get them now because he's coming, or the group's coming. They should be here by the time Doctor Strange #3 rolls around. It's either going to be them or the Champions, or it's going to be both of them simultaneously, or it's going to be one and then the other one, whatever the case is. But I see the Defenders being the one that they're going to go with because it just makes too much sense, honestly. And there's so much different things that they could do. You could throw Ghost Rider into there. There's so many different integral pieces that you can move around in that group to where I see it just makes way too much sense. But this is a great book. It's about a 6.5. Nothing special, but it's definitely a good book to add to this collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the breakdown of what books we had to start off, what the new books are. The new books is going to be the rolling ones that we're going to be rolling with for a little while. That group is going to try to stay the same for a little while. You might have somebody, like if I'm talking with somebody and I do a trade, I might trade one of those books out of there, but I'm really going to be trying to, first focal point is getting rid of all the books in our 50 that we started off with and seeing what I could turn that into. Then our new group of books, you do the same thing and you just use them as building blocks and you just keep doing that and keep rolling it over and rolling it over. And then eventually, I mean, you see I already got rid of 5. I added 6. And some of them, I mean, like this next one, this Thor, it's Thor 120. It's not really in the greatest shape. I'm going to say it's about a 3.5, 3. It's a little rough. But this is a book, I don't think I had anything Thor in our original 50, but it's a good book to where if I had another couple Thor books in, and then I could package those together like I did with the Spider-Gwens, where I got all these books. So it's like, you just keep recycling. That's all you keep doing. But once some of these keys hit, that's when we're going to get, move on from them. This next one is the Blue Flame #1. Now, they just had this on a random shelf. They didn't have it, in a box or anything like that. They just had it out. And this will be a book that I feature in a video coming up. It's definitely, if you haven't checked that out, it's a good read. I didn't get it for reading purposes. I got it for purposes of, in this past year, I feel like that's a book that's going to blossom. Not more so than a lot of other books, but I think people are really sleeping on that, and I think it's going to take off pretty soon. And then our last book, I told you I wanted a #1. We got our #1, and we got a good #1. This is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1. Everybody knows the spec on Spider-Man, but do we know the spec for the future? We don't. When I'm looking at this series, I see a lot of these stories potentially for the future. I see a lot of these characters in the Spectacular Spider-Man series being introduced. So a lot of the keys for this, we might not try to complete this whole run because it's a lot of books. But we might try to get all the keys from this. And this is a hell of a way to start. If you see this book, it's about a 9. it's in great shape. Tarantula might be a character that comes in the future. It would be smart if they did. Spider-Man, we know we have 3 movies left that are coming with Tom Holland. Would I be shocked if this is something that blows up? All we need to do is wait for spec on it. That's all we have to do. If in 6 months they spec, oh, in the next Spider-Man movie, Tarantula is going to be the villain. Guess what? This book's going to double, triple in value. So at that point, that's when we would get out. Because right now, in this book, we have tied up $50, give or take. The second that book goes to $150, we trade that out. We get ourselves a great key in place of it, and we just move on with our lives. The whole goal for all this isn't to make money, by the way. I mean, you can, if you follow my techniques, you could probably end up making money off of this. But all I'm trying to do is show somebody how to build a personal collection from the ground up with not that much to work with. And I feel like the first trade, we at least indicated that and pointed that out a little bit. If you haven't checked out any of the past videos, please do. If you haven't liked or subscribed, I would love it. I'm going to keep pumping out content. I have more videos lined up and ready to shoot. It was a rough past couple of days, but we're going to get going and get rolling right back into this. Go check me out. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.